Guys, it's Nurse J at Nursing the Truth. I hope everyone is having a great Tuesday. And I have to say, congratulations to the Louisiana State University Tigers on winning the national championship. So, as everyone can imagine, Louisiana is going crazy, especially down here in the deep south in the New Orleans area. It was a grand finale, folks. So, as usual, Nurse Dre likes to bring truth. And so, I'm going to do a shout out to one of my subscribers. And you know who you are because you requested a video about Sodom and Gomorrah. What is the real deal of this biblical story? Well, my friends, you have to read the Sumerian tablets and not always, take word for Zechariah Stitchin's Earth Chronicles, but you got to have a little bit of truth and substance in there, which I've read all of them. Now, the backstory is if you're looking at it in a biblical sense and you're taking word for word about this story, I'm sorry that you have been hoodwinked and hijacked and bamboozled. Now, let's think about this for a second as well. In Numbers 23:19, it talks about that God is not a man, nor is he a son of man, that he should lie. Okay? So now, he's not a man, and he's not a son of man. With that said, we're going to move forward. So, if you go to Genesis, 19, actually 18, he's talking to, is talking to Sarah and Abraham. He said that he was going to bless him with, mighty nation. And then Abraham stood before the Lord, and Abraham drew near and said, "Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked?" Well, and this Lord said, if you could find me, 50, and then, all the way down to, let's say, 1, okay, that I would not destroy the city. Well, quote unquote, this Lord destroys the city. Now, then, up until then, but let's go to Genesis 19 now. And this might have to be a two-part video, but anyway, I'm trying to make this very quickly, but also very good information as well. Now, in Genesis 19, it talks about there came 2 angels to Sodom, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And they rose up and they met him, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, "Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways." And they said, "Nay, but we will abide in the street all night." So these 2 angels are up all night. But isn't this funny? Lot, he bowed himself down to them and he prayed to them. But they said, "No, we want to abide in the street all night." And he pressed upon them greatly. And they turned into him and entered into his house, and he made a feast and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. I thought that angels, as we've been told, the little wings, were spiritual beings, that they didn't need to eat or drink. As in the book of Luke, this Jesus says, hey, you look like you've seen a ghost. Does spirit eat? Does it need to have food and drink? Okay, so anyway, moving on, people. Read your lovely scriptures that man wrote you. And anyway, but before they laid down, the men of Sodom, even the men of Sodom, encompassed the house round about, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called out unto Lot and said unto him, where are the men which came into thee this night? Talking about these two angels. Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. So these men wanted to get down with the angels. They wanted to have sex with the angels. And Lot went out of the door unto them and shut the door behind him and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. You know, homosexuality. So that's where we get this term sodomize, Sodom and Gomorrah. So he says, behold, now I have two daughters, which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing. For therefore came thy under the shadow of my roof. Okay, so Lot, you're a dirty old bastard. So you're going to give your daughters that are virgins and have not known men, and you are going to let men do what they want to your daughters. This is a sickening verse. Why don't your pastors with your little girls in the, congregation listen to this and let the Lord Almighty approve? So you're going to save the angels' asses, but let the daughters be raped by the men. And they said, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came into sojourn, and he will need to be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them? And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. But the men put forth their hand and pulled light into the house to them and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said unto Lot, hast thou here any besides son-in-law, and thy sons and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord. And the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. Okay, that's another problem. Why does the Lord need to send two angels to destroy anything? If you are the Mac Daddy, Jehovah, Yahweh, then you can do whatever you want. Why do you need an angel to do your bidding? And the Catholic Church, even on Netflix, as Pope Francis said, this little actor, and they give you tidbits of truth, people, you need to listen. He said there was no such thing as angels until the 5th century. So anyway, isn't this interesting? Isn't this an eye-opener, friends? And so Lot went out and spoke to them. And in the morning, the next morning arose. Then the angel hastened Lot and said, Arise, take thy wife and their daughters, and don't be consumed in this city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand and upon the hand of his wife and the rest of the daughters. And the Lord being merciful unto him, they brought him forth and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for their life. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in the plain, escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my Lord. Oh, he's talking to God now? Who is this Lot talking to? And he can talk with freaking angels, but the angels have got to do God the Lord's bidding? So anyway, he's having this conversation with the angels, these two things that want to stay up all night and abide in the city. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. And then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. Brimstone and fire out of heaven actually just means the sky, Uranus in Greek. Go look it up. He overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and that which grew up on the ground. His wife looked back and, she became a pillar of salt. Or could it be a pillar of vapor? And Abraham got up early in the morning, where he stood before the Lord. I thought in Numbers that the Lord is not a man, nor a son of a man. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. So after they moved out, then the daughters had sex with Lot. They thought everyone had been destroyed, and they wanted to know how in the world was this going to be repopulated. So they got their father Lot drunk, the two daughters, and they preserved the seed of thy father. And the firstborn bare a son called Moab, which were the Moabites. And then the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Ben-Ammi. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. So now we have a situation, friends, where you have a city or cities that were destroyed. So where am I going with this? Everything has been written, but is it us that is going to really believe the lie? Are we going to believe the lie? See, are we going to believe the lie? Are we going to come to know truth when we search. And isn't it funny, even in the scriptures, it says when you search for the truth and you find the truth, then the truth will set you free. So friends, until you search, you will believe the lie. But it's time that Nurse Jade breaks you from that lie. So it goes back to the Sumerian tablets. You see, over 20,000 tablets that were found in the library of King Ashurbanipal of Syria, or Assyria at the time, in Nineveh, under the ziggurat. And archaeologist George Smith found these, and they started deciphering. He says, wait a minute, hold up. Houston, we got a problem. These look just like the biblical stories. But the funny thing of it is, these were 1,500 to a couple of thousand years prior to the writings of the book that we call today the Bible. So the Sumerian tablets, a description of an ancient nuclear war. Yes, friends, even in your Mahabharata, your Hindu and Indian stories, it talks about this cataclysm. On the Sumerian tablets, there is even an image of a nuclear bomb. And I'm going to try to show it here. Y'all, it looks phenomenal. Let's see if I can show it to you. See this, guys? Okay, this is a man holding some type of like a bomb, like showing you, okay? It looks like a bomb that, you know, actually would come out of something like of World War II, how they bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So on the image of this cylinder seal, it shows like a nuclear type of bomb. And the applications have been found. The ancient Sumerians left plenty of tablets, many records left deciphering, which the scientists assumed that this mysterious civilization was lost to deliberate destructive actions. Now, the ancient Sumerians did not assimilate with the nearest nations and did not become the prey of the invaders. Just thousands of years ago, nuclear bombs fell on the Sumerian cities. Then a young Assyrian state came to those territories, which occupied and rebuilt some empty Sumerian cities. Here's what some of the ancient clay tablets say and what they tell us. Sumer suffered a great catastrophe, a huge hurricane, who came from somewhere unknown, dared the city, and then a fiery wind rose. The sun did not shine during the day, but the moon did not shine at night, and no stars were visible. The air became poisoned, the plants did not grow, and the cities became deserted. The ancient Sumerians claimed that before this disaster, the gods, Gods, left the temples and the people. In the ancient document called Lamentation of Uruk, there are records, where it is said that the gods went to the neighboring mountains and hid there. Why did they do this? Was it a planned operation, friends? And the gods of the Sumerians took shelter in special bunkers? And after they blew up the bombs, almost all cities are empty. Records do not contain information about any war. It seems that this was a purposeful action. The description converges with the consequences that come after the nuclear explosion. Poisonous rains fall, the fiery winds burned, the water in the rivers and reservoirs became bitter, etc. It can be assumed that the ancient Sumer was overtaken by an epidemic, but in this case, the description would contain very different details. In addition, for example, the plague would have no effect on the eclipse of the sky and did not generate a hot wind and would not change the taste of water. Events in Sumer that occurred thousands of years ago became the prototypes of some biblical stories. Many scholars agree that the destruction of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah is not a myth. They describe details of a very similar explosion of a nuclear bomb. Of course, it is not immediately possible to believe that in ancient times people knew about the splitting of the atomic nucleus. But imagine if our modern civilization was destroyed by nuclear war, our heirs after thousands of years would also be very difficult to believe that once there were people with a high level of knowledge and technology. By the way, the ancient Sumerians claimed that the Dead Sea, known to all, received the properties known to us precisely as a result of the ancient nuclear bombing. So, how do you like that, friends? The story of Sodom and Gomorrah, however they wanted to spin it. And then they had to use perversion in it as well. Wow, that's a best time seller in New York. How much are you going to pay for that story, friends? But how much are you going to pay for the real and true story? It's mind-blowing, mind-altering, and it will shake you to the core of wanting to know more and more about the ancient Sumerians. But it has a twist to the story. So, hold on to your seats. Get you some coffee like I'm doing. Pen and paper. And I am going to take you on a journey of the Anunnaki and Sodom and Gomorrah. Until next time, Hotep and Ashe. And keep looking for the truth, and it will set you free. Good day, friends.